Hey, Catalyst crew. Welcome to Catalyst Corner, episode 74. It's Thursday, so we've got Jim F0123 Art on with us, and yeah, let's get into it. How you doing, Jim?
I'm doing okay. How about yourself?
Adventures abound.
Oh, yes, of course.
Had to get a new phone.
Yeah. It happens.
Yeah, it was time. It's been like 5 years.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Listen, I don't switch unless I have to.
Yeah, I'm not one of those guys that every time a new piece of technology comes out, you trade up.
No, neither am I.
Yeah.
I try to keep it for as long, especially with the phones. I get very comfortable with how they work.
Right, exactly. You know where everything is.
So I got I got this phone that flip, like it's called like a flip or whatever,
Yeah.
right? It's got a fucking,
It's crazy.
like a small tablet.
Yeah.
It turns into. I've never the technology's been around for probably about 5 years.
Sure.
And the other iterations were not very good.
Yeah, I mean, you don't even hear about them, to be perfectly
Yeah, 'cause
honest.
they're not particularly.
Yeah. They didn't do well.
And I think it still has a long way to go.
Sure.
But what an incredible
It
piece of
looks
tech.
awesome.
Yeah, you can't
Awesome.
even it's one of those pieces of tech that I look at it and I go, that'll probably be the future.
Yeah, I would think that if it performs,
Yeah.
right, and there's
It's-
no glitches or any issues, I think that's going to be a phone that you're going to see majority of people sporting.
Sure, not even just a phone though. I mean, if we're talking about flexible screens like that,
Yeah.
I mean, just in your everyday life, you're going to see some wild shit.
Well, I mean, when you get all the people that go to your coffee shops and stuff, right? You don't
Yeah.
have to take your laptop anymore, right? You take your phone, it flips. It's not as large, but it's large enough now where you can do some work on that thing.
Yeah, for sure. It's interesting because I have a tablet,
Mm-hmm.
but like that's just going to get regulated now to like the checkout thing for the business.
Sure,
because
right.
the phone's big enough.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just incredible. Have you seen anything?
I have.
Oh, my.
I have. So
Well, it's spooky season.
it is.
All right.
And I got a couple for you.
So
we're
do
gonna,
I.
We're going to go to the early 90s.
Ooh.
And I'm going to go, I got it, as I said, couple. One is a comic book that became a movie, and one is a book that became a movie that had a follow-on comic book after it.
As you do sometimes.
As you do. So I'm going to start off with, and if anybody looks at the social media, and I know you have, we've got the latest drawing, one Dr. Giggles.
Oh, scared the shit out of me. Just the cover.
Yeah. I mean, you want to talk about a good campy type of, and both of these are kind of campy, more on the campy horror side than your gore and slasher. But what a good, it came, I saw it, that it was on the other day, and I'm like, I gotta watch it. I haven't watched it since the early 90s.
Yeah.
And
How'd it hold up?
I mean, it's good enough.
Yeah.
Good enough. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like, it's still an enjoyable watch.
Well, that's all you can really ask for,
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if you don't want too much out of like I said, if you want
it's a campy, it's like a Saturday night, you know.
But if you want a fun horror movie
Yeah.
that has, some elements of gore, right? Not too much, but it's good. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah, you brought me back with that.
Yeah.
I figured you must have watched it because
I
I'm
did.
like, there's
I
no
did.
way he's pulling that out of thin air.
No, I watched it and I'm like, oh yeah, that was from Dark Horse Comics. That's
Yeah.
a comic book that became that movie. The other one is Clive Barker, Nightbreed.
Wow. So, little tidbit on Nightbreed. That was one of his first films.
Yeah. So a book, Cabal was the name of the book that
Yeah.
became Nightbreed.
Yeah.
And then a follow-on comic set, which I own because I thoroughly enjoyed that movie. I thought that movie, for its time, and again, when you look at it through the technology of nowadays, certainly, yes, could it be better with the CGI
That was the one with
and what have you?
button eyes, right? The serial killer had the buttons for his eyes or
Yeah,
whatever?
right.
Yeah.
Right. He was the therapist.
Yeah, who was that? That was, he's a famous director.
Right.
What the hell was his name? David Cronenberg.
Cronenberg.
Yeah.
right.
Like, what a crazy fucking
And he
thing.
was a very good
was
actor,
good.
I
Yeah,
thought,
he was really
too.
good in
Yeah.
it.
But
Nightbreed was a wild flick.
Yeah, it was
all practical, which Clive Barker shit is known for.
Right. And I mean, again, it's monsters, right?
Yeah.
It's such a good, and I still think it holds up, right? I mean, if you watched it back then, and that's the whole thing, right? Which is kind of odd, right? If you didn't watch it originally,
yeah,
I don't know how people feel about it if they watch it like nowadays for the first time, based upon the technology that's out there and some of the movies that we see. But if you've watched it back then and you rewatch it again now, to me, I think those movies still hold up to me because, I've enjoyed the movie for how many years since it came out.
I'd be curious about that as well. I wonder if you were exposed to either the book or the comic and then you saw it, maybe you'd be a little more kind to it.
Yeah.
But like people love Hellraiser.
Sure. It's one of those things where I just am curious how people view it, right, when they weren't there originally to see it.
Yeah, but for me, practical effects that are done well, and they are done well.
They are done well.
Nightbreed.
Yes.
Did you ever see Night Flyer?
I don't believe
That's
so.
That's a Stephen King one. It's like a vampire type of thing. It doesn't really hold up because they're practical effects. They're just not done as well.
Yeah. Right.
Jurassic Park's another a more popular example. Right.
Yeah.
It's CGI the way CGI is supposed to be done.
Right.
Just a kiss of it.
Yeah. So, again,
and for nothing else, you have David Cronenberg as a fucking serial killer.
I enjoy the going back and watching some of these what would be deemed now classic horror movies.
Yeah, you get a blast from the past.
Yeah.
Well, they're 30 something years old now,
But those were two. I've watched some more, and we'll talk about them on future podcasts.
All right.
I've been doing a lot of because it's like you said, it's the spooky
season,
so the horror movies are abound right now.
Yeah,
so what did you get?
I just started feeling spooky. It took about 5 days into October for me to get this.
I mean, it's 80-something degrees
right.
out.
That doesn't help. Is that it's still midsummer.
Right.
So I watched. The Frighteners after you were talking about it.
Perfect.
I got to tell you, talk about a movie that just fucking oozes 90s. You're talking
totally does.
Pre-9/11 innocence.
Yep.
Like just everything about it was phenomenal.
Yeah, absolutely.
The CGI doesn't hold up.
Doesn't hold up. No.
But Michael J. Fox in his prime, so good.
Right.
So I caught that.
Nice.
All right, so the two I watched, the better of the two, and that's not saying much. The Nun.
Oh, The Nun.
Okay. Part 2.
Okay.
So,
all right.
Yeah. So she's my partner's a real big fan of the Conjuring universe.
Yeah. Okay.
And she, like millions of other people, go in real hard for the Nun.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'll say this: aesthetically, phenomenal.
Okay.
Like she is a very creepy.
Yeah.
Visage.
Right.
She really is.
She is.
The first Nun was okay.
Yeah,
I thought it was okay. Atmospheric,
Yep.
right? Like I liked that it was set in Romania or whatever,
Yep.
and the priest, I like him and all the stuff he's in. The second one, however, I did not care for it.
Okay.
It felt more like an action movie than a horror movie.
Oh, all right.
So in the first Nun, spoilers if you haven't seen it, I don't know that she kills anyone.
Right.
I don't think she kills anyone.
I don't believe so either.
Right. They kill themselves or whatever,
right.
but like I don't think she actually kills anybody.
Yeah.
Not in this one though.
Oh,
she's out for blood.
Oh, okay. As you do.
I guess, but it's just it's so the dynamic between the nun and the priest is gone because he's gone.
Yeah, right.
Which is okay, whatever, I get it. And then the junior nun that they replace him with she's not unlikable, but it's just from a story perspective, right?
Mm-hmm.
The way that they roll with it is like the church knows what went on in Romania.
Yeah.
And they know about this nun, right? They're like, all right, well, you stopped them, like, so she's got some cred. And they partner her with like the most rookie nun possible, and I'm thinking like, I don't know that they would do that.
Right.
So whatever. There was one scene that I thought was going to be awesome and ended up kind of petering out was she's standing in front of this magazine rack, the nun, our main character, and then it starts going nuts and it's flipping through all the pages, and it forms kind of the nun through all the different images, and I'm like, if she fucking walks out of that nice and slow with the music, they get those deep, like, guttural sounds, that would be the coolest fucking, like, I'm like, this is going to be the shot of the movie. And then they just fucking didn't.
Oh.
And I was like, what happened?
That's
you lose
a missed
the budget
opportunity.
or what?
Yeah, that sucks.
Yeah, so, I mean, I don't know. I'm sure there'll be another one because it tends to do really well.
Yeah.
But it's starting to feel tired.
Yeah.
I don't know how much more of and don't get me wrong, the woman Bonnie who plays the nun, she's getting up there too. So she's not like she's doing the same shit she was doing in the first one either,
Yeah, exactly.
So I don't know. The Nun 2 the Nun 1 isn't great, but the Nun 2 is far from it.
Yeah.
So then the second one I watched is called The Exorcists. Plural.
The Exorcists.
Yes.
Okay.
Now, I didn't see the S when I clicked on it.
Okay.
I
so
thought
this has nothing to do
well,
with...
I thought it was... I know there's like a remake floating around somewhere.
Yeah.
So like a new one.
Right.
So I thought it was that. I was like, okay, I'll watch it, whatever. Let's see what it is. And who's starring in this movie, you may ask? None other than Douglas Bradley.
Oh.
So I'm like, it opens up on him, and I'm like, oh, shit.
Okay.
This is going to be great.
Sure.
And he's good in it. Because it's him.
You're right.
It's fucking Doug Bradley.
Right.
What a garbage. Like,
really?
Oh, my God.
Oh.
Very rarely, because I'm an artist, so I can tell when effort is put in.
Sure.
Very rarely do I see a movie where I believe effort was put in, and I go, Christ, that was a waste of time. This one.
This was it?
Oh, it was so bad.
They wasted his talents on a poor script.
I mean, the dialogue was... Here's the thing. The dialogue was awful.
Yeah.
But he's just Doug Bradley.
Right.
So he's
trying to make the most of terrible
he's
dialogue.
Propping it up.
Yeah.
But holy moly, like, it was just... The story is 7 different ways. There's really no exposition. Like, you just get dropped in it. And, then it concluded, and I was like, oh, no, thank you.
Terrible.
Yeah, so
that's a shame.
That's all right, though. That's kind of the gamble you take when during spooky season, you know?
There's going to be a lot of hits and misses, and probably more misses than hits on ones you're not 100%
like, look,
sure
if you like the Nun 2 is going to just...
it's going to be,
look, it's more
fine.
of the same.
Right.
It's just more of the same.
Sure.
I'd stay away from the other one, though.
Yeah.
That one, that one was
Stay away from the Exorcist with the S on the end.
Yeah. Oh, my God, it was horrible.
Nice.
It was so bad. Oh, I'm like traumatized with how bad it was.
I bet.
All right, let's get out of the spooky season a little bit.
Okay.
What else you got for me today?
So, there's a Canadian show that just came out that's getting, absolutely destroyed, right?
Pretty typical these days.
Right. Because it's a show called Robyn Hood.
Oh, yeah, I heard about that.
Okay, right. You heard about it. And basically,
give us this and yeah, go ahead.
So it's your typical, it's not, it's following, obviously, to, a more modern type of time where
it's more it's more modern now.
You're stealing from corporate.
It's for a modern audience.
Well, yeah. So you're stealing, it's corporate. It's corporate, the little person against corporate, right?
Right. You're taking the themes of Yeah. Yep.
So, and again, every character is race swapped.
Yep.
Or, sex swapped, except for the villains who are white, right? Because they have to be.
Yeah.
And, we're getting the typical from the director, everybody's a racist. I didn't make a bad show.
Yeah,
it doesn't really suck.
But you did make
you did.
But here's the thing, is you did make a bad show.
The show is terrible.
And it's enough. You can't, these people keep throwing tantrums.
Right.
It's akin to a toddler taking their ball and going home
Right.
because we don't like what you made.
Right.
It's not because you race swapped and gender swapped, okay? It probably hurts it because, when people go, oh, Robyn Hood, and then what they get is the concept of Robyn Hood, but it's not Robyn Hood at all. It's just steal from the rich and give to the poor.
Right. And it's just it's a boring story. It's boring. They don't act well, right? So none of it's good. And again, you've got the director coming at us again with the same type of stuff. It's not my fault. It's your fault.
Right.
You're idiots. You're either homophobic or you're racist or you're a Nazi. What the same talking points that we keep hearing every time a show.
It's the Disney
Right.
playbook.
That being said, I have a question for you.
Yeah, sure.
The last 2 years, we've really seen majority of things flop. Whether it be on streaming, whether it be at the theaters, majority of stuff have not hit. We can agree with that, right?
Yeah, I would say from the big studios, absolutely.
Right. So my question is this. Who is the modern audience that we keep getting preached to? Because they've not shown up yet in 2 years, but we keep making movies for them, but yet where are they? Because every time you do these changes, you say it's for the modern audience, and then it flops miserably. So where is that who is the modern audience we're talking about?
So here's the thing. I don't know where it gets lost in translation that and this goes for basically all of these IPs that they've taken and reworked.
Mm-hmm.
When you do that, you lose what made the IP special.
Right.
Like
let's
go Snow White for a minute,
Mm-hmm.
By taking her and making her into a warrior princess,
Mm-hmm.
you take away what makes Snow White, the innocence, the virtue, the purity,
Mm-hmm.
being the fairest in the land.
Right.
Because now she has ambition and she's trying to be a leader.
Right.
And there's a darker side to it there. So now you fundamentally change the character. You're rewriting the story and then saying to us as an audience, okay, this is just how it is now.
Right.
And the rest of us are going like, yeah, but I like the other one.
Right.
And they're like, well, tough shit, you racist piece of shit. It doesn't, it's wrong on so many different angles.
Right. But
there is no modern audience.
No, and that's right. And that's the thing, though.
And here's the thing.
We keep on hearing it, though.
Hold on. We go to the cons and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
right? I've had people ask me about, like, Rey and things like that. Like, there are
Sure.
fans. People like her.
Sure.
And here's the thing. I don't begrudge you for liking Rey. I think there was an awesome opportunity with
Mm-hmm.
her. I just don't like the way the story played out.
Right.
That's the thing, is that Rey is a character in and of herself. Fine. But it was her journey that felt hollow. It was the bastardization of characters we cared about. But if you're a fan of her,
Mm-hmm.
I don't begrudge you for that.
Right. But the thing is, but we heard, when I'm going to make the changes to The Witcher, and I'm going to make the changes to Willow, and I'm going to make the changes to Ahsoka, and I'm going to make the changes to Rings of Power, right? On and on and on. We
Right.
keep on hearing we're making this for the modern audience.
But the thing is that what you've done is you've buried some of the most popular IPs now. They're dead. You have buried, like, Star Wars. It is going to take quite a jolt to get that back up.
All of this stuff is dead
Witcher's
for the
dead.
most part.
Like, you're talking about huge
Right.
IPs that are dead, and now going forward, what are you gonna do?
But
you're gonna keep telling the same fucking bullshit stories, but just without the name value?
But the thing is, we keep on hearing your reasoning for making these bastardizations is because the modern audience wants it, not the dinosaurs of before, like myself. It's the modern audience that wants it, but then when it fails, you're criticizing the audience. So you're saying you're making it for a modern audience, and then when that modern audience doesn't show up, you're then calling them racist. Well, aren't you making it for them because everybody else but them are racists? Everybody but them are homophobes? I don't understand. How do you have it both ways?
Well, because here's the trick of it, is that they're trying to take something that's complicated and boil it down and make it simple. No, there are people that care about the race and gender swaps.
Sure, of course.
But, for example...
And I think you have to a degree,
sure,
if it fundamentally changes everything about
we've
the
talked
character.
About, like, you know,
and we've talked about it numerous times.
Superman being regular Clark Kent, having a race swap would be very difficult to land him in Kansas at the time.
Right.
That's what we mean by fundamentally changing
Correct.
the character, okay? Because you are rewriting the character at that point. Now, that being said, you could do that and still come out with a Superman that is very similar.
Yeah.
You could. And that may work. But what they're doing is they'll take, Rachel Ziegler and say she's Latina. And you don't like it because she's Latina. And it's like, no, it doesn't matter. I mean, you're going against the source, but whatever.
Yeah.
She's a pretty girl. Like, you want her to play Snow White? I can get right with that.
Sure.
What I don't like is the story that you're telling, is the character that she's become.
Right.
That's what I don't like. So they're two separate issues that they're combining. So instead of it being, I don't like the character, I don't like the stories, I don't like the 7 magical creatures, it's, you just don't like this because she's Latina.
Yeah. Well, and so in the case of this one, though, you're not telling the tale of Robin Hood, right? You're just telling something that has a similarity to the folklore in the fact that you take from the rich and give to the poor, right? And her name is Robin, not, spelled differently. So none of that other stuff matters, right? It doesn't matter that she's a black female,
right?
Because you're not telling the story of Robin Hood from,
Merry Men.
Right, Sherwood Forest and all that. It's so when no one shows up and everybody hates it, it's because you made a very boring show that sucks. And you just have to. And when is it going to be that they accept that when you make these type of shows, there really isn't an audience, modern or ancient? There is no audience for it.
And again, I'm a little younger than you are.
Yep.
But I was always under the impression that if you're going to take the risk and put your art out there, you have to be ready for whatever criticism comes.
You have to be.
These guys are putting their art out, they're getting criticized, and they're instead of taking the criticism, they're fighting back.
Yeah.
Which is insane to me.
Right. I mean, look, you put something out that you were passionate about, and you created it, and good on you. But if the audience doesn't feel that same passion for it, and they don't like it, and they let it be known in a multitude of different ways, whether it be not watching it or making insults about it on social media or YouTube videos, whatever the case is, you have to accept that. You have to accept that, yeah, unfortunately, I didn't reach the audience, that something was off between my vision and what I presented to the audience. And you have to take that, and hopefully you fix that issue, whatever your next show might be, and you learn from it.
Right, but that's with the mentality of humility and growth in mind.
Right, exactly.
When you're blaming someone else for your failure, instead of looking inward, you're looking outward.
Mm-hmm.
So, you may get the opportunity to make another show, but because you haven't learned from the experience, it's going to be the same piece of shit.
And we're seeing, we're seeing flop after flop after flop. We're hearing it's for the modern audience, and it flops, and then we are insulting the audience that didn't show up and has a complaint about your telling of an IP that a lot of people have, they have a care for, they have a love for in a lot of cases.
Well, I think what's kind of interesting now is that, a lot of the most popular IPs you've already done this to.
Right.
So they're gone now. You can't rework those. And so, you're running out of road in a way.
Mm-hmm.
So then once all the IPs are gone and you cobble together some bullshit new IP with the same bullshit stories that you were telling with the old IPs, and that tanks as well, even harder, then what?
But why, my thing is, why not try to make a show that was for the old audience, that the old audience used to like, and see if that does anything. See if fans come back and will watch the show and love it the way they used to.
I don't know that I like. Here's the thing. I think Last of Us is for the modern audience.
Sure.
Like, I watch that and I go, this is a well done modern tale for a 2023 audience.
Right, but it's just basically directly taking the source material that's already provided.
I guess my point to it is you have all of the diversity in that show.
Right.
You really do. And aside from like the bigots and the homophobes, which the true ones, no one was shitting on any of it.
Right. But here's the thing, right? Going back to Snow White.
Yeah.
If you have her, Rachel Zegler, playing Snow White, and it's an adaptation of the original.
Yeah, no one's going to say anything.
No one's going to say a word. It's going to come down to, did you do a good job
as Snow White
in adapting the story?
Right, but that's all anybody cares about. That's what people cared about when Beauty and the Beast came out. It wasn't that it was Emma Watson or anything. It was was she Belle? Right.
Exactly. And that's what I'm saying. That if you're just going to take the animated and make it live action, and you can tweak it a little bit, but the core of the story remains and the characters remain true to what they've always been. Yeah, you can add diversity to it, and there's nothing wrong with that. And then if you hear people, and if it's good, and then you hear people complaining, well, then fuck them. That's being racist. But if it sucks,
well, that's the thing.
That's not our fault.
That's why The Last of Us is so important to me, because like I like you was feeling that I'm like I'm getting gaslit by these studios, and I'm thinking, is it me? Am I actually the problem here? And then The Last of Us came out, and I go, that was beautiful,
right? And
I go, okay, so it's not me, because that's a great piece of cinema right there. So, and that has diversity. It has strong female leads. It has LGBTQ representation. I told you, episode 3 is some of the most powerful TV I've ever seen. And then I stop and I go, all right, it's not me. It's these fucking jerks that are gaslighting us as a people to try to push their mediocre at best art.
Right. And so, is it getting... So, Mike, I guess then I start thinking, are we just using diversity as a shield to protect us against shitty writing?
So I think initially diversity was a real problem.
Sure.
And
it absolutely was. There's no doubt about that.
Sure. And they created departments and they hired executives to take care of it. And they began to do their job and they started fixing things. And then as things become a little more diverse, they don't want to lose their sweet gigs. So they keep looking and pushing.
Right.
And then, yes, I think that, you can very much use diversity, LGBTQ, all of that stuff as a shield. And I think you're shitty if you do it.
But it seems like that's what every director now that has a failed show is doing.
I mean, it just seems like it does. It seems like every time something, bad comes out, the playbook is to blame an ism.
Right. Like if Little Mermaid was true to the source and the only thing that you did was add diversity.
Yeah, but you added an extra hour. That's
Right.
the problem. That's the problem.
Well, but you also fundamentally changed the story, and you added an extra hour worth of useless
yeah, but
shit.
you had to because you changed the story, and you
Right.
needed an hour to paint yourself out of the corner.
But that's my, and then again, we're hearing the same, you're racist, you didn't come because you're racist, and it's like, no, why should it matter if you add Ariel be?
Yeah, Halle Berry has a beautiful voice. She's a beautiful girl.
She was
She
fine
nailed it.
for the role.
Yeah.
You made a.
I didn't like the crab or the fucking fish. That was scary
all
as fuck.
terrible.
Yeah.
But you made a horrible adaptation.
Low quality CGI.
Right. That's all on you.
Yeah.
And again, you're not the amount of people that didn't go see it because of the race swap isn't enough to move that needle to non-profitability.
You know what my favorite part about that whole thing is, though, and how you can tell how shallow these corporations are with their message.
Mm-hmm.
You could have used a drag queen to be Ursula.
Sure, you
and
could have.
Instead, you chose white ass Melissa McCarthy.
Yeah, you needed some name value.
Like when I heard that, I was like, how is no one upset about this?
Right. I mean, I don't think she can. I don't find
it's
her
not even
funny.
her. It's not even her. It could have been any other woman.
No,
my point is that Ursula was designed after Divine.
Right.
For those of you who don't know,
mm-hmm.
you can't get into John Waters and that crew, but
right, right.
So I'm thinking to myself, like, how could you not use a trans woman for that?
No, exactly. You could have and should have, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
you went for name value.
RuPaul's Drag Race and everything, I've seen some of the ladies on there that would fit the bill.
Yeah, but you didn't have any name to help prop that film up.
Right.
Haley Berry. Yeah.
Yeah.
She's not to me, she's not a name.
Well, she's like she has a little bit of clout with the younger generation.
But I'm saying overall, you know what I'm saying? Like,
I don't think she's propping a movie up.
Right. I don't think her name alone is going to sell tickets.
Do you think Rachel Zegler's name is? Well, now, not anymore.
No, I don't. But you have Gal Gadot.
Right.
And you see what I'm saying? The other person
right.
is the actual name value that you're going to use for marketing purposes.
Right.
And so you needed somebody. So I agree what the right play was, but they went with, well, we need somebody for marketing. We need a face to get out there. Because let me tell you something. If it was her and a no-name drag queen at the Oscars when they did the commercial for The Little Mermaid, that wouldn't have gone over. It didn't go over anyway, but you at least had Melissa McCarthy with name value and a reason to be up on that stage. Otherwise, it would have looked even worse than it did.
Yeah, it's pretty strange. It's pretty strange because at the end of the day, I expect this from corporate because they're not artistic.
Right.
They're corporate.
Sure.
Their sole goal is to make money.
Right.
But what's crazy to me is that the collective of these creators have come in and they're feeding this fucking bullshit to these suits, and the suits are eating it up.
Yep. Well, I mean, we talked on the last cast about Iger, right?
Yeah.
And he said, I'm going to quiet the noise, right?
Right. They pulled Zegler in, had a conversation with him.
And I said, I don't believe that piece of shit as far as I could throw this building.
No, he's a horrible human being.
Have you heard all of the woke messaging that has come out since he said that?
No.
Did you hear about Bambi, right? So Bambi's the next one up.
I've been taking kind of a step back from it.
So Bambi's the next one up. They already said all the woke messaging is going to be in there, right? They're going to take out the mother getting killed, the most important scene in the friggin' movie.
Yeah.
Because it
defines Bambi's character.
Because it's too sensitive for the modern audience, is what they said.
Mufasa died in The Lion King,
right?
Though.
But no, can't have it. You have
it made Bambi who he is,
right? You have a trailer for The Acolyte leaked,
which
got pulled quickly. Again, It's all woke messaging.
Yeah.
It's all take down the patriarchy.
Yeah, but we knew that.
Force. But what I'm saying is there's not a single thing that has come out from any of it, right? From any Disney product that has not had the message, right? Ahsoka we just got was the message through and through. Dave Filoni is the king of pushing the message. Again, I'm not a Filoni fan. I think he is a fake Star Wars guy.
You think he's a one-trick pony?
One-trick pony that Lucas handheld to do something. I don't think this guy has got talent at all. Ahsoka flopped. He's got nothing. But the message was front and center. Absolutely front and center.
I did hear there was a nice tribute to Ray Stevens, though, at the end of it.
Sure.
Which
That's
is nice.
fine.
You want to see that.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is that everything that we've seen coming out of Disney, whether it be Marvel, Star Wars, Disney Animation, the message is front and center. So, again, I said before, he said this numerous times, it's to help this stock, which is, trending below $80 a share.
Yeah.
He's trying to save his ass.
When he left,
he is not going to, he doesn't believe it.
When he left, it was over 100.
Yeah, well over 100.
And, you can argue recession and all that bullshit, but no other company has taken a dive like that.
No.
And here's the thing. Because people ask me, why does it bother you so much? And I've said this. I've gone on record, and I'm like, these are my, these stories are the ones that I've kind of, they're my heroes. They're my, I don't know who, people like baseball stars or whatever. Like, those are my heroes. So to see them kind of get annihilated hurts.
Yeah.
Now, that being said, I'm getting used to it now, and I'll just find my entertainment somewhere else.
Right.
And that's the thing, is that we're getting to a point now, because they own everything, the 5 studios, right, where I'm done fighting. I'm going to just go watch something else, and you can keep your quote-unquote modern audience, but if your lights go out, don't come at me, because I left. I was tired of being called a racist and a homophobe and a misogynist, so I left.
Right.
Like, look, I don't want to come across that way, so I will bow out gracefully. And if there's not enough people to keep the lights on now, don't come to me and be like, well, you should come back. Well, you abused me as a consumer.
Right. So, and going back to this Ahsoka thing, right?
Yeah.
So, Filoni made sure he is absolutely Kathleen Kennedy's puppet, right?
Yeah.
She's got his her hand so far up his ass.
Yeah.
Moving the mouth. He made sure, the Force's female this is gonna be it. And this is why it's gonna, not only does it flop, but it's going to kill Star Wars even more.
Yeah, but no one said the Force was male back in the day.
No. However, now the Force doesn't matter.
Right.
Right? So when we watched Rebels for 4 seasons, what have you.
Yep.
Sabine Wren never was a Jedi.
No.
She was not Force sensitive. She never even showed any signs of being Force sensitive.
No.
We get to Ahsoka, and all of a sudden she is. By the end of Ahsoka, which is just, I don't know how many, we're probably talking a few days, a month, maybe this, season takes place.
Yeah.
She is right there with Anakin, Luke, Yoda, as far as her Jedi capabilities. In a month.
That to me is crazy. That's what it
how
is?
little fucking Filoni cares about Star Wars. So fuck
you know
Filoni.
What, though? Right, fuck him, because shame on you. But I think he, because the Clone Wars I thought was really well done. Now again, you had Lucas's guidance on that,
right?
But I'm wondering if the ship is he knows it's going down, so he's just going to collect the check and sync with it,
Probably. I mean, that could be. Because
the thing is, right? It's not even so much about Sabine being, up there with the greats. It's the hero's journey.
Right.
that you're shitting
Which was
on.
none.
Right. But that's always what it is now, is that every time they try to push any character, male or female, and they're like, oh, yeah, they're here now. They're the greatest thing since sliced bread. That's not a hero's journey.
Right. But if this guy thought that was something, then why, because he was the guy that did Rebels,
Yeah.
why didn't he do any of that then?
Well, because Lucas was there. The thing,
Yeah, but he
here's
didn't do anything with Rebels.
Hold on. Because my guess is that Kathleen is safe.
Sure.
She's not going anywhere.
No, yes and no. I mean, she's not going anywhere until the contract is up. Once the contract is up, I think it's done.
Maybe, but we've said that 4 times now.
Yeah, but I can't see them renewing
But
a
we've
contract.
said that 4 times now.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, every flop after flop, we've said that, and they keep surprising us. So what I'm saying is that if I'm Dave Filoni, right,
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to not work on... it's that thing. Like, I don't want to stop working on Star Wars.
Sure.
So...
Yeah.
she's falling in behind the Empire.
If you want to work on Star Wars, that's fine. But you are not a savior of Star Wars.
No, you have the potential to be.
You don't understand Star Wars all that well.
No.
And you're pretty much just a one-trick pony.
Well, where's Favreau? Is he
No,
out?
he's not a part of this.
Okay, so he left.
Yeah. He's
Yeah.
going to do, if they want another season of that shit show Mandalorian,
Yeah.
then he'll be back. But he's not a part of this. This is strictly Filoni, which is supposed to lead to that movie that probably will never get made. But everybody said the same thing about this show.
So we're getting the Acolyte then.
Well, yeah, supposedly it's finished and it's going to come out.
All right.
Even though supposedly Leslie Headland was fired, supposedly we're still getting it.
They fired her.
Supposedly.
She's allegedly, an aide to Mr. Weinstein's escapades.
Which there's a new lawsuit that just got filed
Against him or her?
and Disney. Well,
Why Disney? What he doesn't have his hands in with Disney, does he?
No, but they own Miramax, which he did.
Oh, I didn't know they owned Miramax.
Yeah, so, this was back in the Eisner day.
Oh, wow.
Right?
That's bad. Yeah. When he was running around just raping people.
Yeah. So there's a new lawsuit that just came out against Disney and her company that was management company, what have you.
Yeah.
And again, I'm not saying, Leslie Headland, she was there and she knew what was going on.
Yeah, like
she turned a blind eye.
Don't feign innocence.
Right.
Like you were his executive assistant for years.
Right.
You're a fucking liar if you said you didn't know.
Right. So we're going to get this Acolyte show, which is nothing but the message.
Did they say why they fired her?
I think part of it was because she just blew up the budget and turned in shit.
But that's what they always do. These it happened with She-Hulk. Like these people that don't care about the properties come in, get it. They're grifters. Get as much money as they can, balloon budgets, turn in a shit show, and then cry about racism.
Yeah. Well, did you see the you see the Little Mermaid now with the budget?
Yeah, it's coming out now because the UK requires them to file.
Right. So the flop is even larger than
not even
it was
accounting
previous.
Not even accounting marketing. $300 million to make that movie.
Right, it was 150 in marketing thereabouts.
So you're talking about 450 or something.
Yeah,
like that?
Right now they get probably about 50 million of a subsidy in England. Right, so they'll get 50 million back. So let's say 400.
And it did what, like 560 worldwide?
Yeah, it did under. Yeah,
and then you got to divide that by what, a third? I think is
you get about 50% in the U.S.
Yeah,
you get about 40%. Everywhere else except China, which is like 25%.
That's the thing that the apologists never talk about. Is they just see the number and they're like, well, it made 50. It was 400 million to make. It made 550. It's like, sure, it sure did.
Yeah.
But averaging 45% of that is going towards theaters.
It's an over $100 million loss in that movie.
But I don't care what, unless you're Apple. Because there you have $1 trillion or whatever.
Right.
You can't keep losing hundreds of millions of dollars. Yeah. And Disney has been consistently, like after Endgame, budgets have only gotten bigger.
Yeah.
And losses have only been greater.
Right. And
then when you throw COVID and empty parks on top of that.
Yeah. So, again, you can say we're going to quiet the noise, but then everything that is come out since that's been said is message first. Everything, every Disney property.
Yeah, they're just
that we're
they don't know how.
talking about.
I just don't think they know how to write themselves at this point.
They can't.
Now you saw that Rachel Zegler got dropped from Paddington 3.
Yes. Yeah.
I don't blame.
I don't think she's going to have much luck.
Here's the thing: the mistake that she made, right, is she went so hard on this Disney thing that every other studio is going like, oof, I can't. We need to have an agreement, with our actors that when they're doing press tours, we're all on the same page.
Right.
And she clearly doesn't give a fuck.
No.
So I would be surprised if, because people are not happy that she's in that Hunger Games prequel now. And the thing is it's like, is this shitty version of Snow White worth destroying your career over?
Yeah. To me, I would end Snow White. I would be like, look, we can't. Maybe we'll revisit it again down the road. Maybe with other people, but we can't put this out.
I don't know. I mean, I think if I was a studio head, I would stay clear of her just because
she just came out again. Did you hear her bashing men with this Taylor Swift thing? She's like defending Taylor Swift, and she's, she has a hatred for men. That's crystal clear. And she came out and she was doing her thing. Like, again, as soon as this writer's strike thing kind of lifted, she's back at it. She's out there again with bad press and bad PR, making a mockery of things, alienating potential fans, potential audience.
Well, I just think the mistake that I think some of these younger people are making are, I'm not going to a lecture. I'm going to a film. I want to be entertained, not lectured.
Right.
And they don't care. They feel like because they have a platform, it's their responsibility to lecture. And it's not.
Right.
It's not, because unless I'm specifically going to a film that's going to challenge my belief system, I just want to be entertained. I just want to forget that my fucking 9-to-5 corporate slog sucks.
Right.
And get transferred to a fantasy world. Like, that's the purpose of it.
Exactly.
And that's being forgotten now.
Right. And that's why all these shows. So again, when you say all these shows are being made for a modern audience, I understand what you're saying is you want to add diversity. You want representation. I get that part of it.
Right, me too.
But that's not what you're doing.
No, I think Dune is a great example of doing that the right way.
Sure.
Dune, which is a very hard medium to adapt, was incredibly well done.
Right.
You had a great, diverse cast. But it was still Dune.
But does it hold true to the book?
Yeah.
Right.
It was still Dune,
right,
is what I'm saying.
Exactly.
Like, I just don't, it's just so strange. I will say, did you not? I brought up Doom, so I'm thinking Timothée Chalamet now. Like, he's a younger guy. You don't hear like, he seems like a decent dude. Like, he's just
you don't hear anything from him.
No, he just because he's doing his job.
Yeah, he
goes to work and he leaves.
But I barely hear anything about him other than he's in a movie. Like, he's in a movie and then that's it, and then he's disappeared,
right,
and probably doing another movie,
right,
but that's it. Like, you don't hear anything about this guy talking anything. I've never heard. Now, maybe I don't pay attention because I don't pay attention to anything about him.
It's just
but you're not hearing. But
no,
I'm not paying attention to these other ones.
Look, honestly,
only because you have to.
I think he's banging a Kardashian or something.
Yeah.
Like, that's all I heard. It's like, oh yeah, look, he's kissing his Kardashian, and I was like, okay, good for him.
Yeah, cool, whatever.
Yeah, but what I think is bizarre is that Cavill tried to do it. Cavill tried to come out and say, like, look, I'm a fan of things, and I'm going to do, what I think is right for the characters that I'm fans of. And they nerfed him.
Right. But then the show's tanked.
I was scrolling through Netflix the other day, and I saw Witcher. They changed it back to Cavill.
Of course.
It used to be Yennefer's face.
Of course.
So they changed the cover back to Cavill, and then so I scrolled over it, and because I wanted to read the blip because I'm just curious what are you going to say now?
Right.
And they called it a global phenomenon.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
I've never seen something like it has Game of Thrones level of started off good, tanked, but just on like steroids because its speed ran through.
Yeah.
Like at least Game of Thrones had 5 seasons,
Right.
6 seasons that was good.
Right. Yeah. But that's the thing. It's like instead of worrying so much about insulting the audience, write better. And I think that this writer's strike, I think you're going to see that because they got a big bump in pay.
Right. So now it's like you're earning now.
Right. But here's the thing. Because of that big bump in pay,
Yeah.
you're only going to hire talent.
Well, right. I think what it's going to do is it's going to eliminate a lot of, like, maybe. I just don't know. Like, here's what it is for me. I don't know how you can put something out like Robyn Hood or She-Hulk, and then Disney or whoever's marketing or running the show goes, well, that was awful, but, try again.
Right. I don't think you're going to have that anymore.
Well,
I think
aside from, like, the Kathleen Kennedys of the world.
Sure. But I think that for the most part, the writers, a lot of these young writers
Yeah.
are not going to be around much longer because
Well,
they're not going to get they're not going to get the same opportunities because you're not going to pay them the same, again,
I
if
just think
everybody's
it's
pay
just
went
gonna
up.
get I think it's going to get very cutthroat.
It is
like
going to get very
more so
cutthroat.
than it is.
Right.
And obviously it's a cutthroat business now. But, at the end of the day, because here's the thing. I think everyone should have a shot.
Sure.
And if you make Robyn Hood, right, and it tanks, you can keep going. If you take what the feedback was and make adjustments, look. You know who's a great example is Elizabeth Banks.
Sure.
Like Charlie's Angels, fucking garbage.
Yeah, terrible.
And she whined, but then she put out Cocaine Bear, and again, still amateur, but much better.
Right, but here's the thing. You take the writer of She-Hulk, right?
Yeah.
And that was one of the worst shows ever written.
Horrible.
Do you want to take her back and give her a second chance at double the pay now?
The thing is that I think you have to have a conversation with these people and say, like, look, She-Hulk didn't work. It's not because of racism. It's not
the trolls.
Did you watch the show? It's bad.
It's terrible.
So either write better or fuck off.
Right.
Like, I'm not saying don't give them a second chance, even at the higher pay. I try to be understanding. We're all humans. Like, let's be decent to each other. But if you do it again, get the fuck out. Don't let the door hit your ass on the way out.
Sure, and that might be a lot of studios might feel the very same way. But I think that a lot of like, I can tell you a guy like Zaslav, he's going to be like, unless you're a name value, I'm not going to hire you because it's too much money.
Though, he's a psycho.
He's a psycho.
When he first started, I was like, maybe it'll be good. I think he is one of the worst things to roll into.
But he's going to look at it and say, then
it's just about the dollar sign.
Then I want somebody that's going to make me money, and I want people that are established. If I've got to pay this money to them,
right, I need a track record,
right, and so I don't think he's going to give many up and comers.
No, I don't think
an opportunity.
I don't think he's one. Like Warner Brothers, I think is going to be tight.
Yeah, I think so too.
But it's just, the thing of it is that I think if you were to pen a She-Hulk, right, and go, Jesus, what was I thinking? And then go back and really take a look at what made it poor and then make it better, make your writing better. Yeah, of course.
But the problem is they don't think that it was their fault.
Right, and
that's where the issue lies.
That's the key, is that instead of looking inward, they're looking outward for the cause of their failure. And that is, in any aspect of life, that is an awful philosophy.
Right, exactly.
All right, with that, let's put this one to bed. Jim, as always, thanks for coming on.
Absolutely.
What do you got going on?
Just getting the artwork out there.
Oh, yeah.
Every week, Check out the social media, please.
I expect
Stop on by.
we're gonna get a lot of horror themed.
I think a lot of horror themed for the month of October.
Very nice.
There's a theme going, so if you like horror themed art, check out the socials.
All right, guys. So that's episode 74 of The Corner. You know where we're at. CatalystCrafting.com is the main website. Catalyst Creations NH is the Etsy store. We're doing a little horror stuff too. I dropped a Michael Myers coaster today.
I saw that.
Yeah. So we'll be posting. We're gonna do some posts and try to did a giveaway for one of the shirts.
That's
that was
awesome.
really exciting.
Very cool.
But yeah, what do you guys think? Are you a fan of Dr. Giggles? Do you even know who Dr. Giggles is? Did you watch The Nun? Did you watch the second Nun, in any case? Did you watch Robyn Hood? How do you feel about kind of the gender and race swaps, and then that being tied into whether a movie or show is good or bad? And, I mean, what are your thoughts on Disney? Let us know in the comments. All right, crew. Catch you on the next one.